Hi, this is Charles Meyer, and today we're going to be talking about the Big Six. The 6 major compound exercises that you can do to get the most out of your time frame, whether it's losing fat, gaining muscle, a combination of the two if you're mixed between goals and that's it. These are the 6 exercises that you want to focus on to create the biggest amount of change in the least amount of time. Let's get to it. The first exercise is the push-up. The push-up is going to hit your shoulders and your chest. It can also hit your serratus if you exaggerate the push at the very top. So a mistake I commonly made when I did push-ups is that I let it all fall into my chest. You don't want to do that. By following a hypertrophy training routine, I found out that most of the motion should be coming from your shoulders. So when you're getting ready for a bench press, a squat, really any exercise that involves the front of your chest or your back, which again is a lot, especially for these major compound exercises, you want to get your scapula into a base position. So to do that, you would raise it up, bring it back, and then down. So that way you have a ground to push from. I can't jump if I don't have a ground to push off of. So if I'm doing a bench press or push-up, I want a base to move with. So I'm going to bring it back and down, get it locked, and I'm here. The back of your elbows should point backwards. When you're coming down, you don't want them to flare out, you want them to tuck behind you. So when you have it there, let your shoulders come back and then come down. Push up and then let your shoulders go up. Shoulders are coming down and then I go down with my chest. Push up and it's one fluid motion. From the side, bring them up, back, and down to have everything locked. My body's ready to go. My body's in a good line. I'm coming down with my shoulders and then chest, pushing up. Fluid. Keep it fluid. Now we're going to follow the same muscle group, but switch it around. This time, we're going to focus on bench press. Like I stated before, you want that scapula back and down. Any pushing exercise you do, push-ups, bench press, overhead press included, they're going to involve your triceps. So note that and make sure they're getting in there when you're doing the movements. For the point of this exercise, I'm going to be using a very light bar. Don't worry about my weight. My shoulders, they're coming up, back, and down. So I have that base. For almost all of my grips, I'm holding it in a comfortable position. If it's here and my arms just hang loose, I should be able to just grab up naturally, and that's where it'll flow. Don't worry about your whole positioning. Yeah, if you're trying to hit the outside, go wider. If you're trying to hit inside, go inside. You know, change your press up, but just grip it naturally, wherever your hands fall, for almost any exercise. And here, my shoulders and scapula are back. The whole time, I'm going to be digging my traps into the bench. And my feet, my heels, they're pressed into the ground. It's loaded, ready to go. So imagine yourself doing a push-up. All you're doing is pushing up, literally. And it's coming down. And up. Something that helps me is as I'm doing this, I imagine my hand or somebody else's hand is on my sternum and I'm trying to pinch it with my pecs. The whole motion should come from your pecs. If you're feeling it, not as, you know, the muscles being used, but feeling it pain in your shoulders, that's because your scapula's not back. You're using too heavy of weight and the motion isn't coming from your chest. It's coming from your shoulders. Like we saw in the push-up, when I come down first and then use chest, people will commonly get hurt because they allow it to all come from their shoulders. You don't want to do that. Take it slow, use a lighter weight, and figure out the motion, and then put weight on. Continue with the pressing motion. What we're going to go through now is an overhead press. An overhead press is the compound movement for your shoulders. Again, these names follow through. A push-up, you're pushing up. Bench press, you're pressing on a bench. An overhead press, that's exactly what you're doing. You're pressing overhead. So let your palms go pronated so that they're facing behind you. You come up, and now, without letting your wrist fall backwards, you want to keep them parallel, straight up, both of them. So that way when you're pressing, it's not coming up like this. Your wrists are ready, because they're going to have a lot of weight on them, so you want them to be prepared when you push. So you have them up. An example, wrists are back, bad. Keep it pushed up. Get a base. Squat your knees a little bit and stand in a good position. And then press with your shoulders and let it come down. The positive and negative should be in your control. So now that we've covered the front side of our body with 2 variations on chest, push-up and bench press, shoulders, overhead press, we're going to move to the back of our body. What you can do here is a pull-up. Really tough exercise if you don't have the muscles to do it. I so recommend getting deeply involved in trying to develop the muscles involved in the pull-up, because when you have that, you can produce so much more energy. So, I'll cover front first so you can see the motion, and then I'll turn around so you can see it from the back side. Like I've stated before, and I'll state again, your hands should come naturally. But the wider you go, the wider you're going to get with your lats. The closer in you go, again, it's going to hit different parts. I recommend reaching up, totally naturally. I like to go a little wide. So imagine you're hanging in the air, right? Lift yourself up just enough so that you're not fully loose. There should be a part of you that's holding yourself up. From there, you'll feel it hitting your lats. Pull up. Calm down. Backside, it's going to hit my lats. That's the pull-up. A little hard to explain the motion, but all you're doing is grabbing and pulling up. I like to imagine that I'm on a cliff, and if I don't pull up, I'll fall off. To conclude the top half of our body, we're following from the pull-up and going into the bent over row. To do that, you're going to do the first half of the motion of a Romanian deadlift, which we'll cover right after this video. I just want to link the two together to make it all a lot more simple. The grip should be natural. I stress that again and again. Let your hands fall. Your hands should just hang naturally. So the first part of the Romanian deadlift, which is the first part getting into the position for a bent over row, is to bend your knees slightly. Don't lock them out, bend them. And then sit your butt back. Don't let your back arch over. Keep it proud, chest up. So you're sitting back, knees partially bent, and you're here. Now you lead with the points of your elbows. Just like that. You're coming straight back. So when I made the tip for a bench press of pinching somebody's hand that's on your scapula, imagine that, but on the back side of your body. You're pinching somebody's hand who's right there. Following that, like I said, we're going to do the Romanian deadlift. If you have the form down, getting into the position for a bent over row, this is going to be so easy. That's all you have to do. Get into the position for a bent over row. What we're doing here is hitting our hamstrings. Your legs are powerhouses. You need to develop them. This is one of the exercises to do that. Like the bent over row, imagine you're getting into that position. Your butt comes back like you're sitting into a chair behind you, knees slightly bent, and then you push forward. So if you imagine it this way, there's somebody running up behind you and you want to push them back with your butt. So you bump them and let your hamstrings stretch. To follow along in the legs, I'm showing you another variation of the deadlift. Rather than Romanian deadlift, it's just deadlift. For the purpose of this exercise in the video, I'm going to have the bar set up above me. Normally this would be called a rack deadlift because you're coming when it's already racked. What you want to do in both times, whether it's racked or on the ground fully, you get your legs right below your hips, but open enough so that it's under your shoulders. You'll squat down and pick up the bar. A lot of people will do supinated and pronated, one way or the other, whichever they feel comfortable with. I usually just do both pronated. So you'll come down, grab it naturally, and stand up. Now that's a lot easier said than done. And what's helped me learn that is that you want your knees to come backwards. So if I have them bent, what I'm doing for a deadlift is putting my knees back behind me and then pushing my hips forward. Backwards it would look like this. So when you have the deadlift, say the bar's here and I'm gripping it in an imaginary place, I grip it, now my knees come backwards and my hips come forward. To finish things off, let's talk about squatting. The end of the video and the end of legs, we save the best for last. Squatting is arguably the most important exercise. Like I said, your legs are powerhouses. You really want to develop them. They give you a giant surge and boost of hormones as you train. So each time you hit your legs, whether it's Romanian deadlifts, squats, any sort of curl with them, you're getting a big boost. You have over 600 muscles in your body. If you can do one exercise that works 1/3 of those muscles, why wouldn't you do it? Because squatting is so precise and potentially dangerous if not done correctly, I can't cover all of what needs to be said. So I'll give a brief overview of the knowledge I learned from Alan Thrall's video, How to Squat. What I'm telling you here is a distilled version of what he said in there. So let's cover it. Let your hands come up and fall down. That should be your natural grip. Go a little bit wider. Now you'll put one foot under the bar, keeping your hands in position, never letting go. You'll put the bar above your neck. Put the other foot under your shoulders and step up. When you begin, you want the bar to hang about chest level. Get under it and then stand up. Now, if you're in a rack, you can't really move. If you're not, take the steps back and get into the position. Put your legs just under your hips, under your shoulders and under your hips. Play around. Step a little closer, step a little further out, step forward in front of you, behind you. Do little motions in each of those different positions to see, okay, this feels the best for me. Find a position that feels comfortable and you know is going to be safe, and you simply sit down. There's two ways to do a squat. You can have the bar hang here on your upper back or on top of your traps, which I do and I recommend. If you have it further down, you should squat backwards and let your butt sit back like you're doing a Romanian deadlift. But a regular squat, you're just sitting downward like an elevator coming down. You're holding all that weight. The elevator's full of people, and you'll go up floors and you stand straight back up. That is a totally oversimplified version of how to squat. I recommend watching Alan Thrall's How to Squat video because squatting is such an important exercise. I'm so glad you guys watched this video and I hope you learned something from it. I know I showed you more than 6 exercises, but the big 6 is really the muscle groups. The reason we're doing compound exercises is because they employ so many more muscles than isolated movements. If I'm doing this, I'm only hitting the lateral head of my deltoid. But if I'm doing this with the overhead press, I'm hitting all 3 heads. More than that, I'm hitting 6. Compound movements use the most energy, so you're burning the most fat or fuel when you're doing it. Another reason why. spoke a little bit about positive and negatives, and I said it should be in your control the whole time. While that's true, I want to add on to it. I'll show you with the overhead press. I have it here. When I'm going to do the positive, I breathe out. When I'm doing the negative, I breathe in to prepare for the positive. So, same thing with every exercise. When you're doing the hardest part of the motion, that's when you should be breathing out. I really do hope you learned something from this video. If you didn't, I'm sorry. If you already knew the information, great. Share it, whether it's through this video or yourself. We should make our minds open source. We live in the information age, and it's time to start sharing. Thank you so much.